morning, good afternoon, good evening, or even good night if you're going to bed in your time zone. Welcome to TAG, Time Alone with God. Now, if you are a football fanatic and you watch teams like Liverpool, teams that buy success, their tagline is, you will never walk alone, all right? But that is actually a fact of life. And today I want us to look at a short story in the Bible about some people who actually thought that they were walking alone, but they were not really walking alone. And the story is found in Luke 24. And the story is about a guy called Cleopas and his mate, all right, his partner. And because he was walking, we will assume that the partner was a female, and so Mr. and Mrs. Cleopas. So these two leave Jerusalem, and they're sad, they're dejected, they are hopeless, and they are battling grief. Why? Prior to their leaving Jerusalem, Jesus, the King, their long-awaited Messiah, had ridden into Jerusalem on a donkey. And he had never experienced such mass euphoria as the masses gathered, laid their cloaks on the road, and welcomed their long-awaited Messiah into Jerusalem. And now they knew that their salvation had come. They knew that they were going to break free from Roman occupation. They knew that that promise that was in the Old Testament about their Messiah was happening that particular weekend. But hey, things did not go as planned. It was only a matter of days before they saw their Messiah, their King, get arrested by the powers that be. All right? He was deeply humiliated. He was killed, buried in a cold grave, all right? And now his disciples were scattered and afraid and hiding. And so Cleopas and his wife, or mate, decide to leave Jerusalem and go to the countryside, a distance of about 11 kilometers to their hometown, a place called Emmaus. And so as they are on this road, walking down to Emmaus, someone joins them on the journey. All right, and of course, Cleopas and his wife are very sad. All right, they are talking about the events that are taking place. And this guy comes and asks them, hey, what are you two talking about? All right, and they're actually shocked. Like, what do you mean, what are we talking about? Are you only a stranger in Jerusalem? Are you the only one who does not know what has taken place in Jerusalem? All right, and this person, who happens to be Jesus, asks them, what things? What things? And here is what they tell Jesus, all right? In Luke 24, from verse 19, after Jesus asked them what things, here's what they say. About Jesus of Nazareth, they replied, he was a prophet, powerful in word and deed before God and all the people. The chief priests and all our rulers handed him over to be sentenced to death, and they crucified him. Verse 21, but we had hoped that he was the one who was going to redeem Israel. All right? They had hoped that this Messiah was the one who was going to redeem Israel. But then their Messiah is killed. Their Messiah is dead. And now they are hopeless. Now all hope is gone. Now they're battling grief and fear. All right? And so as they continue on this journey, all right, we are told that Jesus actually rebukes them. Up until this moment, they still don't know that this is Jesus. And he tells them in verse 25, how foolish you are and how slow of heart to believe all that the prophets have spoken. Clearly, these guys were not paying attention to whatever Jesus said about going to die, all right, and being raised to life on the third day. Did not the Christ have to suffer these things and then enter his glory? And beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he explained to them what was said in all the scriptures concerning himself. And as they approached the village to which they were going, Jesus acted as if he was going further. But they urged him strongly, stay with us, for it is nearly evening. The day is almost over. And so he went in to stay with them. And when he was at the table with them, he took bread, gave thanks, broke it, and began to give it to them. Then, we are told, their eyes were opened and they recognized him, and he disappeared from their sight. Cleopas and his wife were actually walking with Jesus. But they were so blinded by pain and grief and sadness and sorrow that they were not able to recognize that Jesus was actually walking with them all along. And so when they get to this place where they're going, Jesus takes bread, breaks it, and then their eyes are opened. Because in this culture, whenever people gathered around a table for a meal, the father would take the bread, he would break it, and he would distribute it to the family. And now their eyes are opened, and immediately they recognize that they were not walking alone, that they were walking with Jesus all along, even though they thought that Jesus had died and they were all by themselves, that God was no longer on their side. Jesus had been walking with them all along. They were not walking alone. And then in verse 32 they asked each other, "Were not our hearts burning within us while he talked with us on the road and opened the scriptures to us?" Cleopas and his wife were not walking alone. Even though Christ had been killed, Christ was raised to life. Even though they hadn't seen him, Jesus was right there walking with them on this journey of pain and grief. All right? They weren't walking alone. And I don't know what you are going through in your life. Maybe you are in that season where you actually feel like God has abandoned you or God no longer cares about you. You are in that season where you are praying and you can't really feel God. You can't see God. You can't really experience and feel God in your life. Hey, I have an encouragement for you. Even though you might not see him, even though you might not feel like God cares for you, even though you might feel like God has abandoned you, Jesus is walking with us. Jesus is an ever-present help in trouble. Jesus is our Emmanuel. He remains our Emmanuel. Trust in him. Believe in him, because you, my friend, will never walk alone. The Lord is on your side. The Lord is with you. Amen? And that is it from TAG this week. Time alone with God. May you be encouraged to know that God is always walking with you. You will never walk alone. And so until next week, God bless you and keep trusting. Keep holding on to God.